Hello, welcome to day 4 of our 5 out of 4 patterns agility tank sew along. Today we're just going to be attaching our tank portion to our bra, and then tomorrow we'll be adding the binding and we'll be done. Yay! So I hope I can't remember if I remember to mute the phone microphone when I did my last video. If I did not, I'm sorry. I used to have a piece of paper that said mute the phone and a note, and I don't know what happened to it. So sometimes I remember. I tried very, very hard to remember, but if I forgot and the sound was terrible, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Okay, so let's get into it. Today, we are going to need to use a regular sewing machine, and we're also going to need our iron today. If you're like me and the thought of using switching machines, especially using an iron, just makes you go, rah. I promise it's just a quick little bit. It won't be too intense. But yeah, I'm the type that switching machines back and forth, I always get overwhelmed because then there's like so much stuff all over the place and I'm just like, ah. But okay, so let's get into it. We've got our front and our back tank pieces. With the back, you can always tell the difference because the front will be slightly wider at the top and the back is going to be your piece that's slightly smaller because it's got to fit to that T-back. When you cut your pattern, you should have marked the lines for that were the markings that were on your pattern, and that is because we need to make a pleat for it. Okay, so all we need to do is put it right sides together, and then your two markings there should line up right when it's folded in half. So let's add this in so that we can kind of see a little better, hopefully. Oh, this lighting is essential, but okay. See if we can see. So there we go. You can see how they're lined up. Right sides are together. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go from this line and just sew a 1/2 inch down. So nothing too big, just enough to give it, to hold it in for a pleat line. So we're going to sew 1/2 inch down, and then we're going to go, we're going to back stitch at either end to make sure it doesn't, our stitches don't pull out. Let's see here. All right. So, oh, I don't have my, I'm adjusting my needle so that it's in the middle of my plate. I just tend to see it better that way versus putting it on the far right side. But all right, it's nice and slow. We're gonna go forward a couple. Oops, not do that. I just cut it. I pushed the wrong button. It's okay. All right. So we're gonna go forward a couple and back a couple, and then forward again. 1/2 inch down. And back a couple. And then, yeah. That did not go well. My machine was like, no, thank you. Which I kind of thought when I didn't see it moving. So I'm just going to pull those stitches out really quick. Okay, come on, friend. There. And then, just like I did with the thumbhole cuff for the Lumia, I'm just going to put a piece of paper under there because the fabric I'm using, it's just a little slinkier than my machine wants it to be. So I'll just give it a little added. I wonder if I could have just used like stabilizer because I've got a ton of that. But okay, so forward, backwards, forwards. Oh yeah, that's much better. Backwards. Yeah, much, much better. Okay. Let me just peel this off. All right, so now what we should have, hopefully yours won't have quite as many thread bits, but just have then a piece that looks like this. And what we'll do is we'll open it up and we are going to iron it down. So I don't know if you can see here, but you're going to iron this pleat flat so that it's going on either side. All right, so let's go to iron. We're just going to put the fabric face down, so right side's on the ironing board. Then we're just going to iron this pleat flat on either side. And then come to the front. Just kind of set it in again. Just kind of locking it in to the front there. Okay. Now that should be it with our iron. And whoo, it's hot. You should have a piece then that looks like this, where you can see it kind of folds out here on the sides, and then on the inside you've got a pleat that will lay nice and flat, especially once we attach it to the back. So there we have it. Now we're going to get this sewing machine out of our way for a second. I'll put you over here because we're not quite done with you yet. And then grab my serger. If you're using a regular sewing machine, totally, for the whole process, totally fine, totally doable. Just make sure you're using a stretch stitch. So a triple stretch stitch, your lightning stitch, your zigzag stitch, just to give those seams and threads room to expand and stretch without popping. Okay, then what we need to do is we're going to take our back tank pieces and our front tank pieces, and we're going to put them right sides together, making sure that we're lining up the curve for the arms so that they're attached, so they're right next to each other instead of being the arm curve down at the bottom. You don't want that. And then 3/8 seam allowance, we're just going to sew along the side seam here to attach the back tank and the main tank together. Or back tank and front tank, not main tank. So 3/8 seam allowance. If you're using a regular sewing machine, stretch stitch, zigzag, lightning stitch. I really like, I recently went through and marked the different stitch lengths on my machine, and it's helped. Because they're kind of marked already, but eyeing it with wasn't always accurate, so I went through and I used a paint Sharpie and really marked it so that it stands out and I can see it and follow along that. Okay, so same thing with the other side. We're going to come over, attach the corner from the arm, and then the corner to the bottom. And we're just going to sew along the side here, 3/8 seam allowance. Use gray scissors. Okay, so now our sides should be attached, right sides together. And what we're going to do now is we need to fold this is the part that I don't fully understand. Oh, okay. See, y'all know how I said I'm a visual person. So a lot of times I read through things and it just doesn't make sense until I'm in it. And now it's starting to make sense because I was like, why would you fold over the underarms 3/8 inches and then add the binding on top of it? But we're not adding the binding onto the tank portion. We're adding the binding onto the bra portion. So in which case, I should have used the other fabric for my binding. See, I told you I'm a visual learner. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fold the arms towards the wrong side, 3/8 inches, and we're just going to top stitch that down. We don't want to stretch the fabric while we're doing it, or we will get some wavy seams. Wonder tape, I keep trying to tell myself to grab some, and every time I forget. Actually, not true. Last time I went and looked and I couldn't find any. So I should have used a leader cloth. That's okay. So just 3/8 inch, fold it over, just top stitch it down. I'm just going to chain a couple off and then do the other arm. And then I'll pull the threads once they're all done. I'm definitely getting Wonder Tape. Next time I say, I should have gotten Wonder Tape, someone just message me and say, buy Wonder Tape now. Get it on Amazon if I have to. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull these, make sure my needles are up, pull my threads to the front, put them, pull them to the back to lock them in, and then put the chain stitch. Here it is. I was like, I don't know where it went. Yeah. So the reason why I like to use a leader cloth is because if you see here, even though I started at the edge, the stitches didn't actually pick up until closer in, and the leader cloth just helps those stitches catch earlier, like they catch on the leader cloth, so when you actually go in to your stitches, but it's okay. In case you've heard me talk about it before, that's why I do it. I'm really tempted to just hem it right now since it's here. You know what? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we need to fold it out up 3/4 inches. And let's just hem the bottom. We're already hemming. Why not just do the whole thing? The only reason why I wouldn't hem is if these weren't already attached at the side. Since they are, why not? Watch, tomorrow I'll get on camera and be like, so we should have hemmed. No, that won't happen. Okay, so just trim these threads. Overlap my stitches a little bit. And now we don't have to hem tomorrow. Yay. We'll have to iron these nice and flat since I didn't. Oh, pardon me. I am so sorry. I knew I was going to sneeze too. I was like, don't sneeze, don't sneeze. Okay. So now that we've done that, oh, not yet. Sorry, Silver. We need to place a gathering stitch on our front tank piece. So let's grab our sewing machine back out. Okay. So for a gathering stitch, what you want to do, let's see if I can get this showing here, is you want to take, you can take a regular stitch, but you want to really take your stitch length up as high as you can, because you don't need it to hold the fabric in. What you need it to do is create a line so that you can gather your fabric. Hence gathering. And then sometimes what I like to do is 2 gathering stitches, especially if it's a long space. Since this is such a small space, I think I'm just going to do 1 gathering stitch. It should be fine. Oh, hang on. Use a basting stitch and sew corners. Traditionally, people insist that 2 lines. Oh, see, she did the same thing. Pull the bobbin threads, center V. Okay, so okay, sorry. So we need to mark a center V. So we're going to fold our fabric in half and just put a little snip right in that halfway point. And that's going to mark our center. Hopefully my snip wasn't too big. All right. And then we're going to put our gathering stitch in. I love it when the instructions say the same thing that I am. You can do too, but I don't want to. All right. So we're just going to gather stitch all the way down. Okay. Let's get this machine out of the way. I really like gathers because with gathering stitches, gathers, ruffles, they all hide a lot of flaws. I'm all about that. So what we need to do now is we need to pull in the bobbin threads together, front bodice to the length specified in the table below for your size. Okay, so I need this to be 7 inches. So check the table to see how long you need it to be. And you want to put your middle V at halfway. So, and then what you're going to do is you want to gather it so that this gets to here and this gets to the other part of where yours needs to be at. So we're just going to take 1 thread and just kind of slide our fabric down it. trying to get nice and even gathering. So almost there. Let's gather this a little bit closer to our V as well. A little too much gathering. Okay, so I don't know. Let's see if we can pull this down a little bit. All right, so here's where I need my center point to be. So I have my V lined up with that. And then now I've gathered up this side to that point, and I'm gonna do the same to this other side. So we're just gonna pull one of our threads maybe. These threads are like, no, thank you. Oh, because it got pulled under. My bobbin thread got sewn over. So we'll just pull it from here. Oh, good. All right, there we go. Okay, so same thing. We're just gonna pull the bobbin. We're not really, and I say pull the bobbin thread, but I'm not really pulling the bobbin thread. What I'm doing is I'm more holding the bobbin thread and then sliding the fabric down towards the V so that we get a nice even gather. All right, so now you should have a gathered piece. That's the length that you need it to be. You can tie your threads together if you want, if you're worried about your gathers coming loose or undone as you sew. That's just another step for me, and I'm usually okay with how it ends up. So, all right, with both the bra front and front overlay, right sides up, we need to match the center points. So let's find the center of our bra, making sure our straps aren't all twisted. There we go. Okay, so here's the center point here. We're going to match that center point with our V center point. So we're putting the right side of the bra is up and the right side of the fabric is up, or the overlay is up. So we're going to put the wrong side of the overlay to the right side of the bra. Okay, and then we're just going to make sure that our gathering raw edges are lined up with the raw edges of the bra piece. Because if your gathering stitches fold over, it doesn't look very good. And then what we need to do is we just need to baste this on. So I'm going to baste it with my serger, just at that quarter inch. I'm not going to cut anything off. What's going to happen then is when we put the binding on, the binding is going to cover that basting stitch up. So I'm not too worried about it being a serger. Just making sure everything's lined up. Raw edges together. We're just going to baste that on. You don't need to if you don't want to. I would, because the gathering stitches, because if you use fabric that's slippery, there's just a lot of things, you know, putting binding on can be in and of itself a little trickery, especially with slippery fabric. It can get a little crazy. All right, so now we've got our tank portion on that. We're going to want to go through and pull all that gathering stitches out, but I'm going to do that now, I guess. I was going to say I'm going to do that later, but I got sidetracked and just started doing it. So and I decided, well, no time like the present. All right, so we're just going to pull those gathering stitches out just because we don't want them showing. No other reason. Since we basted it on, it should be nice and good. Shouldn't need those gatherings. We should have basted right into it. Perfect. Okay, now we need to attach our T back to the back bodice. Right. So, oh, nope, sorry. I forgot we don't put the T back until just it up again. We don't put the T back on until after the binding. Oh my goodness. I am all twisted up on this thing. Okay. This is right. Did I do that wrong? Okay. So yeah, I just put my, oh no, that's right. Oh. Okay. This is all kinds of crazy to me. I keep twisting things up. I was like, oh no, I did it wrong. But no, I didn't do it wrong. It just looked like it for a second. All right, we need to find the halfway point of the back. So let's mark that. We'll line the side seams up. And there's, oh, thrown clips everywhere. Okay, so the halfway point to the back. We're going to then line up with our pleat, the middle of our pleat. So same thing as the front, we're going to put the right side of the bra back against the wrong side of the tank. So that both right sides should be facing towards you or out. Okay. Next one here. All right, that should be correct. Now I'm just going to double check everything because the last thing I want is it to be wonky. So, got bra. All right, that should be right. So now what we're going to do is just the same thing as the front. We're just going to baste this on 1/4 inch, not far. The binding will cover all of it. So baste that on. now all that we have left is tomorrow we will add our binding, which will attach, there's so many. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to end up twisting this up before the end of it. I'm doing pretty good so far, I think. I hope. Hopefully I didn't just jinx myself. But tomorrow, what we will be doing is we will be attaching the binding. So the binding will go all the way around the bra area. And then after that, all we have left to do is attach the T to the back. And we will be done. I'm really excited about this. All right, so that is it for today. Not too crazy. Tomorrow we'll just be adding that binding and then we'll be finished. Yay! I will see you then. Thank you so much for joining me today.